My mom, F62, asked me, F35, for a live organ donation. What would you do? My mom has been an alcoholic my entire life. A few years ago, she went into liver failure. She asked me to get my blood tested to see if I could be a potential match for a live organ donation. After a childhood of some neglect and used for emotional support for her, this really sent me into a spiral. I sought counseling about it. I knew I wasn't going to do it, but being asked really messed with me. A young man died and she got his liver before it got to the point of me going for more testing. She was sober for a year before and for some time after the surgery. In the last year or so, I suspected she's been drinking again, but I went home for a visit a couple of weeks ago and found out for sure. She was drinking at my aunt's house where we were visiting, trying to hide it until she got too drunk to care to. She was her usually dark and confrontational self she is when she drinks. I was very uncomfortable. I asked her if she should be drinking, she said yup. She wasn't just drinking, she got wasted, could barely walk. The next morning she asked me if I was mad at her. I said no, I am just not sure that she should be drinking. She said that if I'm going to be mad at her, she's just going to leave. She wanted me to convince her to stay. I said nothing and she left. Since then, I've talked to friends and my therapist. They all agreed that I need some space from her. I texted her that I need space and she acted very immaturely, acting like she had no idea why I might do something like this. Saying things like, I hope you know how devastating this is for me. If I gave her my liver, went through the risky surgery, took months off work, changed my body forever for her, and she was drinking again, I'd never speak to her again. But she got someone else's liver. Am I still allowed to be angry? You do you, but hey, while you are thinking about transplants, here's some useful information. Questions about being asked for a piece of yourself come up regularly on Reddit. When people are serious about it, they will ask you to have a blood test, to see whether your tissues are compatible. Do it, because when you go for testing you will be asked if you really want to do this. Be honest with your answer. If you say that you are being compelled to do this and you do not want to donate any part of you, the folks who are pushing you will be told your blood type is incompatible. No more questions from the family, an instant out. You do not need to let your family know how much you loathe the idea. You don't need anyone's permission to be angry at her, but I would be. You're not truly angry about this as an isolated incident, are you? Sounds like this is just the culmination of many things that she has done that have negatively affected you. Dude, someone literally died, in order for her to be able to continue living, and she's choosing to abuse that liver as well. Your mother is a selfish. See you next Tuesday. You have every right to be furious. She will not get approved for another liver if she's drinking again. You don't have to agree to this, but know that the top priority for organ recipients is that they are in good enough health to receive an organ. And yes, of course you're allowed to be angry. Please know this, the Fitteds will know she's been drinking as has ruined this liver. They should not give her a new one. With that being said, all you need to do is privately tell the transplant team you do not want to donate but are afraid of backlash from family and your mother. They will tell your mother that you're not suitable to donate. No one would need to know you didn't want to donate. I'm very surprised that she got a liver due to her liver being destroyed by alcohol. Normally, they won't give a liver to someone like that. Husband, 25M, hit me, 25F, on the top of the head after I patted him on the head to wake him. Tonight, I, 25F, was breastfeeding my son who has been sick. I had tried to wake up my husband, 25M, verbally, but he wouldn't wake up. I was side-lying and my arm was in an awkward position underneath me where I could barely move it, but my hand was just able to touch the top of his head, so I patted him on the head to wake him up. I wasn't angry or annoyed or anything because I'm used to him being very hard to wake up at night. After I did this, he came back and hit my head 3 times hard and also hit the pillow behind my head, so I heard how loud, forceful it was. This was while I was feeding my son still. I said, "Why did you hit me?" and he said, "You hit me first." For context, he has a history of being very disoriented in the middle of the night. He does have low testosterone according to the doctor, so maybe that's why. He has trouble waking up in the morning and is often late for work. So I'm not sure if he did it because he was half asleep. There have been other times during the day when I will playfully touch him and he'll take it as an attack and sort of try to retaliate, but with more force, if that makes sense. I've mentioned this to him before and wondered if it had to do with him having brothers growing up. He has also made the comment that he wished I had brothers growing up so I wouldn't be so sensitive. Advice? Don't know if this is a big deal or I'm being sensitive. Even if it is, wondering if he should get a pass since it was the middle of the night. Thanks, Edit. I hope this is allowed. I really appreciate everyone's thoughts and taking the time to help. Growing hard, I want to let everyone know that me and my son are safe. Some clarifications. Some people asked why I was waking my husband up in the first place. I try not to, but my son has been hardly sleeping since he's been sick, and I was worried I was gonna fall asleep feeding him, so I was asking him for help staying awake. Also, when I described the playing around earlier, that is something my husband and I both do and is usually innocent fun. However, I totally hear y'all that I need to be more conscious of touching others even when joking around and will absolutely work on that. Also, I included the context paragraph in the hopes that someone would call me out if there was something I was missing. I guess I've been so shocked. I've been trying to think of any explanation for his behavior, but these comments have helped me see that it was 100% not okay regardless. I think that answers the main things people have asked, brought up. I really appreciate your time, as I didn't know where to go in the moment, and I will look into counseling to get further support. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to everyone, but I'm reading every comment. Thank you all again. Heart hands. This is absolutely a big deal. Even if you hadn't been breastfeeding your son at the time, his reaction is not normal. The fact that you were makes it even worse. I honestly don't think I could sleep in the same bed with him for a while, maybe ever again. That's terrifying. If he was disoriented, he would have said that. That's not what he said. I grew up with a brother who used to beat the shit out of me. Guess what? I don't do what your husband does. It's a weak, pathetic excuse for a weak, pathetic man. Keep yourself and your son safe and stay away from him permanently. Also, listen to his words about how he wishes you had grown up. Now think about how he's likely to raise your son. No, he's physically abusive, and while you were holding your son on top of that, you're in for a bad time with this guy. Air no low test usually results in more passivity. Higher test can get you angry if he's a man-child and can't handle his emotions. It's never okay to hit someone unless your life is in danger. It's never, ever okay to hit someone to punish them. You're not his sibling, you're his wife. You were holding a child that's small enough to be breastfeeding. Your husband is dangerous. I wish you were taking this more seriously. If he was fully aware and said he hit you back, that's not okay. It sounds like he did that on purpose. My dad would never hit a woman on purpose. He was having a nightmare and my stepmom tried to wake him and he punched her. Another instance, I bit my ex-husband when I was dreaming about getting attacked and my arms were pinned down, so I bit the attacker, but accidentally bit my ex since it was a dream. You can actually do weird things in your sleep, but the response would be a shocked sorry. I didn't realize. I was dreaming. Not blaming you for hitting him first. I think my BF M31 sawed me, F27. I want to start off by saying my boyfriend is the only man I've ever been with relationship-wise and sexually. I have no prior experience with this kind of stuff. Last night while I was in bed sleeping with our 2 toddlers, I woke up to his fingers inside of me and him jerking off over me. I pretended I was still asleep because I was scared and deeply disturbed. I didn't know what to do. A few nights before that he kept pushing my head down to give him a BJ even though I said no multiple times. Is this sexual assault? I am deeply disturbed that he did this while our toddlers were asleep next to me. Yes, it is. Him doing that next to your kids adds a whole new level to all of this. That is def sexual assault, and it's even worse that he's doing it around kids. Take your kids and get the F out of there immediately. I woke up to his fingers inside of me and him jerking off over me. I pretended I was still asleep because I was scared and deeply disturbed. I didn't know what to do. Yes, there was no consent. A few nights before that he kept pushing my head down to give him a BJ even though I said no multiple times. Is this sexual assault? Yes. It is. Please get out of there immediately. This is rape. It's so disturbing that he did this while your kids were nearby. This is so telling about who he is. Please seek counsel. Please leave. Now. He has no respect for you or your toddlers. He is clearly dangerous. I, 22 female, think my fiance, 23 male, is a sociopath. How do I proceed? We've been together for over 2 years. We live together and are getting married next year. I have always known his views on the world were different. He's in the military and has a very military viewpoint. However, the past year I've seriously been questioning if there's really something deeper going on. Let me give some examples. He gets bored when I'm upset. He'll console me, but I'll catch him yawning. One time I was talking about how lonely I felt and crying, and he fell asleep. He says his empathy runs low and he doesn't have the mental energy to care. He views drugs as a hobby and compares it to playing video games. He says that it's a fun hobby, and every hobby has a cost. Video games is time, drugs is your body. He cannot understand why drugs are a big deal. He doesn't understand why people want to be sober, saying life is boring and dull without a hobby. The kicker. He doesn't understand why murder is bad. He says there's no value in human life, and if his friend told him he murdered someone he wouldn't care. He understands the society sees it as evil, but he cannot wrap his head around why. He'll tell me he thinks that human life has no value or meaning, if someone murdered another, that one life makes no difference in the world. He also enjoys seeing others hurt. If we're watching a movie and a sad scene comes on, he laughs. He doesn't understand how death is a sad thing. His childhood dog was put down and he said that death is not a big deal and doesn't know why people get destroyed over grief. I really don't know how to proceed. I don't know if I should feel in danger or try to talk to him about it. Any advice? Even if you aren't in immediate danger, what about this guy is appealing, given his emotional profile? Why on earth would you stay with someone like this? We live together and are getting married next year. Doesn't track with, he doesn't understand why murder is bad. But yeah, whether he's got actual mental problems or is just one of those people who likes to be shocking, you can't reasonably tether yourself to this until you observe for a while longer. The truly disturbing part is that he's in the military. Militaries used to do drug testing so that altered people weren't playing with firearms. This may well be a dangerous situation. Marriages involving people under 25 have catastrophic failure rates anyway, so maybe push this wedding ahead a year or two so you have more time to back out if he goes off the rails. And you said yes to his proposal because, girl, you're smarter than us. The dick can't be that good, and you can't be so desperate to be married that you think any of what you just said makes this loser worth marrying. Get some fucking standards. Maybe he's a sociopath. Or maybe he's just being edgy because he thinks it's cool. Somehow I don't think that a true sociopath goes around telling people that life has no value and murder isn't wrong. They keep that stuff a little closer to their chest. Still, being an edgelord is also weird and gross and worthy of separation. Why in the world would you stay with him? And for all that is holy, do not marry him.